Hello and welcome back to the Yahtzee Roundup podcast. I'm your host, Billy Asel, and we've got a lot for you this week. This was one of the most turbulent weeks in Yahtzee history. There were 15 series played in the span of 7 days. We've got all the stats, all the graphs, and all the insights that you need in the next coming weeks. We're coming into March. This is the closing time of the first season of Yahtzee. It's coming to a wrap up probably in the next few weeks, and we're starting to see who are the contenders and who are the pretenders. This past week, we've had a lot of movement going on. One player who's on a historic run in the last week. And today, we've got a special guest joining us, John Alverson, going to give some key insight on what it's like to be a player and what it's like to compete at the highest rank of Yahtzee. All this after the break.
Step right up, shake that cup. One roll, big luck. Welcome to the Yahtzee Roundup. Yahtzee Roundup. 5 dice, 1 shot. Can you line it all up? From the full house dream to that 5 of a kind. It's the Yahtzee Roundup where the scores unwind.
John Alverson, welcome to the Yahtzee Roundup. It's great to have you on. It's great to have a player joining us to give us a really key insight as, what does it mean to be a player? Tell us about, how are you viewing the last week and how are you viewing how Yahtzee's been going?
Yeah, so this past week I've been on a nice stretch. I've won 4 of the... I don't know how many series we've played. I've won 4 out of the past 15 series, and I'm feeling good about where I am. I've climbed my way up, close to the gap on Ben and Will, and I feel like I definitely have a shot going into this final stretch of the season here.
Yeah, let's just look over, in the last 15 games, let's look over the standings. They've really shifted. We talked about last week how Billy, myself, I went 3 weeks without winning any series, but I was talking about, optimists were wondering, is the beginning of something huge? And I'll tell you what, John, I've won 7 out of the last 15 series. And Ben and Will are only at 2 apiece. And are we seeing a regression to the mean, or are we seeing some stories coming about at the end of the season?
Yeah, and what really sticks out to me about Billy's run this past week is the 2 Yahtzee deficit he faced and came back for the win to take a series away from Ben Cosbelt. I mean, when you do that, it's special, and that's the sort of thing that starts a run for the chip.
Yeah, and just reading off from the text chain, and I quote, "Gotham needs a hero." It seemed like maybe he knew what was going to happen before it happened. Is that just supreme confidence, or is it a lucky guess?
Another huge storyline to follow is Ben has been playing more games as of recent, but has only won 1 series this past week out of 15. And, a player like him, before he came back from injury, you expected him to win maybe 6 or 7 of those series. But now he only wins 1. Has he lost his magic touch? Will this injury he's sustained debilitate him for the rest of the series and the season, and can he come back from it?
Yeah, and we're wondering, we were talking about last week, is availability the best ability? And now we're wondering, is load management necessary for a player like Ben to continue to win? He's going to throw in a little stat correction. He's won 2 in the past week, but still not what you're expecting from a player of his caliber. Was known for having the highest win percentage in the league prior to this past week, but now that he's participating constantly, you're wondering, is this injury nagging him? Is it sitting on his mind and stopping him from rolling the dice the best he can?
What's your specific record?
Yeah, so we got a record alert, guys. Very exciting. The newest record, Billy, in his great streak, had 2 back-to-back games, combining for an average score of 501.5. The first player to break the 500 mark in an average of 2 games. And John, what does this mean for the Yahtzee community?
The breaking a record is an extremely hard thing to do in this league, as we've seen. Since we've started keeping track of stats, there have been very few instances of record breaks and setting new records. So to do that really just shows the great week Billy has had. This league has a long history, and there's a lot of a lot of prestige and great players that have played in this league. So to break a record like that is something special.
Yeah, and he finds himself in the top 10 of all-time high scorers. He puts up a 601, which puts him at number 3 of all time behind John's 2 records of 608 and 613. And, now that he's broken that 600 mark, is it only up from here? Or, how do we go about maybe trying to break the 613 record? Or is that an unbreakable record?
We will see. Now, looking at the standings, it starts to really get congested at the top. Billy and John have gone on a run this past week and have really closed the gap that we saw last week. John is up to 18 wins. Billy's up to 17 wins, which are just 1 game behind Ben at 19 and 2 games behind behind William at the top. So we'll see if this trend continues, or Ben and William can re-cement themselves as the top dogs of this league heading into the final 5 or so series.
Yeah, just thinking about, we're at the late portion of the league, and we're really kind of wrapping up season 1, and you gotta wonder, who are the contenders and who are the pretenders? Who's getting hot late at the right time, and who might be fizzling out as we're approaching that 25 mark? John, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you got to go with the hot hand. Yahtzee is a game where wins come in bunches, and to maintain that hot and to maintain these sort of streaks is what is most important in this league. So I would go with Billy and John right now, who have been on a streak, but anything can happen. As we see, players can get cold quickly just as fast as they get hot.
Yeah, and you almost wonder, looking back to last week, we've had a lot of movement in the standings, but, this could also be a chance for Ben and Will to reestablish themselves as top dogs, go on a late run, and just sweep the crown. And that's the great thing about Yahtzee. It's a game of uncertainty. You can never know what's going to happen in the upcoming series.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so John, thinking past season 1, what is the future of Yahtzee in your opinion?
Yeah, this season is all about consistency and maintaining and having a good... This season is probably one of the longest seasons we're going to see in the league's history at 25 series. Going into future seasons, you might have to be able to perform in a playoff sort of format. So I think the players who are going to be the most successful in this league are the ones that can come up clutch in the clutch moments. And we sort of have like a playoff scenario right now where all the teams are super close in terms of series wins. And at this point, every single series is crucial.
Yeah, John, tell me, as a key insight from a player yourself, when we're coming up into the Yachtstitutional convention in the upcoming months after season 1, what are you going to bring to the table? What are your biggest ideas about, how should Yahtzee be shaped, and how do we as the founding fathers of Yahtzee, make this league great?
Yeah, so I think one of the major changes I'd like to see is obviously the playoff format I've just mentioned. Every electric sport, Major League Baseball, football, basketball, everything has a playoff. Yahtzee should be no exception to that. The playoffs just make everything much more exciting, and the fans will absolutely love it, I think. So that's one of the things that I'd like to see implemented this upcoming offseason. And also maybe some more rules and regulations regarding records and when you can achieve them. Because right now there's some ambiguity about when you can get a record, whether you can get a record when you're not playing in a group setting or whatnot. So I think that we should probably just maintain that to from now on to just series games. You can only achieve the records in that setting. Billy, I have to ask you, what changes would you like to see in this upcoming convention?
John, when I'm thinking about Yahtzee as a whole, I'm really inclined to say that, I really want Yahtzee to be its own thing, right? Yahtzee is not really anything connected to a larger scale. Yahtzee is its own league. It's its own idea. And, some of the things that I think that Yahtzee is really missing out on right now is it's missing a brand. Yahtzee could be this global phenomenon, but I feel like it's missing the TV deals. It's missing the media rights. I think we need to go to the big players and say, hey, look, if you offer us some money, we'll be giving you the broadcasting rights. But right now, I think that Yahtzee itself, it's a name unto itself, but it just needs to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely Yahtzee has the potential to be a worldwide phenomenon, and I think capitalizing on potential brand deals would be a great choice.
That all sounds great. John, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for helping the Yahtzee Roundup being what it is, and wish you the best of luck as we're coming up to the finale of Series 1.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.